Welcome back. Now we're going to create the load books function, and to create the load books function we're going to use the JSON library again. So you have to follow me on this again. You can do it yourself. It's just one line of code that you don't know probably. It's just a json.loads method that converts a string that you read from the file into the real dictionary. So we're going to do that here. And before we do that, I want to fix another thing in this program right here, is that in this line here you probably have an input, probably, and we're going to delete that now. As you can see, we probably have it right there, and I'm going to delete that right here because after every input that I take, I want to ask the user to like just see what this process that I was doing has printed, and then everything. I'll show you how it works, don't worry. If all the options that use, for example, let's say a user enters 99 doesn't exist, so you just print the given command doesn't exist and press any button to continue. Should come right after this. No, press enter to continue. My apologies. Now what do we do? Well, now let's create the function, and as you can see right here, if I run the program and I just type in, it says the given command doesn't exist. What are you talking about? And we exit the program. Now let's write the function for loading books. We just type in def load books, and it doesn't take any parameter, and we have to load the file. We're gonna keep it in a try except block because there could be some errors here, so just file, and we use the file open function. Whatever the file's name is where we're storing it in books.dat. Pretty simple. In the read mode, if there is an error, we say, well, the given file doesn't exist. The file doesn't exist, or an error occurred during loading. Cool. Now we can store this in an array, and loaded dictionaries, let's call this function, or loaded books. And again, these books that I'm going to load, let me show you, like json.loads file.read is the method that we use to read these files. And when we read the file, we come up with a dictionary, and this dictionary is in form of a string. This loads method converts that dictionary into a JSON, which is actually a dictionary in Python, and we have stored it here. Now we don't want it here. We don't want these loaded books, because remember that the books that we are storing here in our main application is in the class version of the book, is in this book version. We don't care about the dictionary, we care about the book. So what do? We create a new object for each of those dictionaries. Let me show you how we do that. Again, this is an array. As you can see, this is an array of dictionaries. We go through each dictionary and we create a new book object from this class using this data, and we store it in our array. Let's do that, exactly that. So I'm gonna have an empty list, and then I'm gonna go in a for loop, every book in the books dictionary, and loaded books dictionary. And in these loaded books, you can see that, of course, these are just dictionaries. We want to convert that into a book. How do we do that? We create a new object, of course, which was like this. Here we used to pass in the parameter, the attributes or variable, the values, the states of this class are passed through this function. So how do we do it? We pass in all the things that were given to us by this dictionary. Now I'm not going to repeat the long process. We have already written this here in this function create book, where we take the user information using the input and we convert that into a book object, into a book instance, or just any of those words. Should ring a bell. Now of course, this dictionary is not book input that we're dealing with. Control D will go to the next value, which I'm selecting right now. And you change that to loaded. Change that to the book. Book is the dictionary that the iterator is accessing every time. And we create a new object here. Now we can store this new object. Now this is not a dictionary. This is the real object. And what then? Well, now I can append this to our books. These books now have what? They have this class version of the books. They don't have the JSON version. They have the class version. And we append that and whatever our new object is, and then we return that object. We return all the books that were in this array. Now before we actually do anything else, let's run this function and see what happens, right? This should open a file, this should load the file. It will be a string, it'll convert that into a dictionary, save it, then it'll run through each of those books, each of those dictionaries, convert them into this book, and then it'll append to our local variable, which is this books list, empty list. Keep making that list up, loads all of these things in this class version into that list, and then returns that list. Pretty simple and basic stuff. And after all of this is done, it can just say, well, successfully loaded books. And we can also print just to check if this actually does work. So we know that third one is the option. If someone presses 3, we have to go and give them what they're asking for, the 3, the loading books from the disk function. And let's see if it does what it says it's going to do. It should give me the class version. As you can see, it's the class version. Now don't worry about this if you don't understand. This is the pointer or the address where this book is actually stored in a memory. As I said, if you keep making these objects, the program is gonna run out of memory. And I told you in the previous section how to delete that using the del keyword. Now we can do this. Pretty cool, right? Well, we have to do another thing, which is just pretty easy. You just book.append this whole array. And we don't even have to append, we just add it to it. Like, okay, now my array is this, because I'm loading from all the things that are here are now in form of a class form in my books variable here. And that's pretty much it. We don't have to print it, and we have not done that, and successfully loaded books. Pretty cool. Now in the next lecture, of course, we'll go through these functions: issuing a book, returning a book, updating a book, showing all the books, and showing a book. So I'll see you in the next lecture, and try to write these functions yourself. They're very easy. They're very easy. Again, you have to use the same method that you used here with the JSON dumps and JSON loads method. And you can write all of that very easily from now on. So the next functions, you gotta try it yourself. And if you have any question, make sure you ask. So I'll see you in the next one.